Happy Thursday, everybody. Everybody getting ready for the weekend. I know I am. Then again, I never have a weekend because I'm always working 24 around the clock here with what we do at the Tribune and what I'm doing for Eagle Communications. But glad to have Pundit back on. Didn't do it last week. Want to make sure that we're able to work on some admin things to get it out to as many sources as we can. But we're back every Thursday night proceeding Fire Up. So with that said, crew, George Eichhorn, welcome back. You and I get two tonight.
Yeah, good to be here, guys.
And the pundit himself, Jacob Christner.
45 years old, my brain's 15, and my back feels 90 if I don't stretch every day.
And a happy birthday to this
Happy
guy.
birthday.
I'll tell you, you're devoted.
Birthday.
Happy birthday. No, I don't want to sing, though. I don't want to sit here and make it too crazy. And Denzel Snipes will be taking over for me in about 20 seconds. Welcome back, Denz. I know you're doing cartwheels when we got it on Spotify, but now you'll be doing cartwheels knowing we're doing on more than just Spotify, and I'll get to those in a little bit. So glad to have you back on the broadcast, buddy.
That last part deserves backflips. That's like 1990 Ninja Turtles, Master Splinter, 10 flips now. That's 10 flips worthy.
No. The real April O'Neil, not this current one.
Exactly.
If I were you guys, I'd take the backflips out of my situation. Otherwise, I'm going to be finding myself in a different hotel called a hospital. So we'll leave it at that. So.
No, George, you got to do the backflips.
Oh, yeah.
I'll be in one in about 4. I'll be one in 4 weeks, anyways. I'll be one in 4 weeks, but I'll cross that bridge. So let me just let everybody know here we're looking forward to a great broadcast tonight. Let you know that Pundit is broadcast around the world. The audio version of this show, Pundit can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify. All right, do your thing there, Denzel, and Google, wherever you get your podcasts. Our focus here on this network isn't to rely solely on video, but audio is very, very important as well, because George Eichhorn and I, that we're old school radio guys, you never saw us way back when, and want to make sure that we have the best of both worlds, old school versus new school, which is, by the way, a book that I am writing. We'll continue with that. Well, please hit the red subscribe button on YouTube, South Florida Tribune. We're striving for 8,000 subscribers. Please also comment and share the broadcast. Want to be a guest? No problem. Just be active in the chat room. Otherwise, send your topic ideas to southfloridatribune@gmail.com. If you want to advertise cost efficiently, call me 954-304-4941. We broadcast live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Website, www.southfloridatribune.com. Twitter @TribuneSouth. Candy Ebling is producing the broadcast behind the scenes and does a whole lot of things. And I talk faster than IndyCar, but you know what? A guy who's definitely going to talk a little slower to me is a man I'll be turning over to now, Denzel Snipes. Take it away.
Man, when you talk, you're somewhere between an auctioneer and an announcer at the Kentucky Derby. You definitely was that in your past life.
Well, I've never been to the Kentucky Derby, and I've had people ask me if I've been an auctioneer before. But no, I just had to settle for a little play-by-play and an awful lot of radio talk shows and that kind of stuff. But yeah, I've been told a lot of people. So if I talk too fast, folks, I'll give you some great advice. Watch the episode again. Get it the second time. Why not? I'll talk faster if you watch it more, or maybe not. I don't know. You be the judge. All right, thanks.
This time, when you watch it the second time, just listen to it at a slower, RPM. You'll be just fine. All right, but yes, and absolutely, it is big news that we are also on audio now. I actually am taking a road trip next month, and there's nobody I'd rather listen to than myself and my misters from another missus. All right, let's get started. I was out with a bit of an illness, but I am back now. Thank you for holding. Of course, you guys held it down. Great show last week. And every single week we should get better and better and better. We are on the South Florida Tribune Live, SFT TV. And this is the Pundit. As always, we are going to kick it off with our Pundit points. This is where we get one topic off our chest and our thoughts about it just in general. So, you know what? I'm going to let Birthday Boy kick it off, So, I've been a little busy all day, but officially, happy 65th birthday, however it is you're turning.
The gray hair doesn't say 65. The face says 25, so it'll say 45.
Yeah, hair like Vince McMahon, back like Hulk Hogan, but he's still kicking off.
Yeah, but I stand up straight. he just has a hotter woman next to him.
Hey, there you go. Hey, Pundit points, man. Kick it off.
All right. one of the things that I wanted to bring to this. I listened to Jesseventura on an interview going to sleep last night, and that sounds crazy, but I'll listen to my podcasts. And I'll give you a little story real fast. This is what reminds me of what we're doing here. He had a deal with MSNBC to do his own show. This is before all of his conspiracy theory and all that kind of stuff. He had a deal, multi-million-dollar deal also. This is during the time of the Iraqi war, and all those things going on. The next one, with Bush, Jr. And they asked him right before his first show, is he for the war? And he was like, absolutely not, blah, 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 blah. Like, probably hours before his first show, they took him off the air. And then they just paid him for the rest of his contract with nothing because they didn't want him, because they were trying to control what he said. They wanted him to do the Laceypeterson deal, which was played 10,500 times on the news at that time every day anyway. They wanted to know and everything. They wanted to control everything he said, and they couldn't control it, so they paid him out of his contract, paid the whole big bulk of it, and kept him home. Now, that sounds good. We would love to have that kind of money, millions of dollars to do nothing. But this is what we're doing here. This is what we are doing here right now. That's why I'm with Sideline. Of course I'm not with ESPN right now. Of course I'm not with the big names, if you will. But I don't want to be if that's what it takes. If you're telling me, I do topics. Scott knows this, George knows this, Denzel knows this. Jennifer knows it, everybody knows it. I do topics. They come with me, and so I say, oh, that sounds awesome, then we'll put the topics in. These are things that we find. We're a team. These are our topics. It's what we work. I don't want a producer telling me what I need to say, and we're not going to do it. And that is the thing. It doesn't matter millions of dollars. Jesse got lucky, but that doesn't matter. And it's like, I know this in my life. I've been an actor. I've been all of them. I know this in my life. I'm probably going to be, my acting is probably limited to whatever I make with my friends, and Hallmark Channel being the nicest guy in the small town. Probably have 50 of those movies. But you know something? I don't care. Maybe I'll be working with Kevin Sorbo. Maybe all of them. I don't care because I control what I say. It is called freedom of speech. We all do. And it's like, and if it takes away our piece of us to be famous, then I don't want it. I love it here. I love it here with the South Florida. I love it with Sideline Sports. Everybody understands me. And the period, if I am to go anything bigger, they're going to understand it quick. No one controls me.
Absolutely. And I think that's actually something that people keep in mind about themselves is in anything, no one likes to be handcuffed, especially not when you sit in the back of some cruiser with lights on top of it. That's another story. But, no one wants to be restricted. You want to get to that point in your career, George, you could probably attest to this. Scott, you could probably attest to this. You want to get to the point in your career where you have your own creative control. It's the entire reason, Scott, why you launched the South Florida Tribune, correct? Yeah. Creative control. That is the key. It's
plus my newest endeavor, which we're going to talk about a little bit later on. But go ahead.
Yeah, it's actually the number one thing that I like about being a part of Sideline Sports and South Florida Tribune is when we get told, hey, it's your baby. You burp it, you feed it, you change the diapers, you raise it, right? And that is great. You don't have anybody over your shoulders telling you what to do, nitpicking. I hate micromanagers. I hate them, right. So, Jacob, great point on that one because you echoed what a lot of us, think when it comes to that topic. I want to swing it over to George now and get your pundit point.
Well, the Detroit News, which is one of our two daily newspapers here in town, celebrating their 150th anniversary. And Scott and I are good friends with Lynnhenning. So they asked Lynnhenning to write the story, the lead article about the history of sports writing in Detroit in that newspaper, the Detroit News, which was always the evening newspaper. Now, Lynn did a masterful job. He went back in history and he talked about H.G. Selzinger. He talked about Watson Spolstra. he talked about Sam Green and Doc Green and Pete Waldmeyer, Joefalls and Jerry Green, all these names that I know me and Scott grew up with. Well, some of them we didn't grow up with because we were maybe not born. But my point is this, and it's sad because there was a stain on the Detroit News Sports Department, the way they treated our friend Jerry Green. Age discrimination. Of course, I know, Lynn, you couldn't talk about it in the column, but man, oh man, that was a huge stain on the Detroit News and the sports department, the way they treated Jerry Green. Jerry, a man of substance, a man with a backbone, a man who covered every Super Bowl, wasn't out there pissing and moaning. He was unhappy, but he still stood up strong, and eventually they brought him back as a contributing columnist. All that being, there are some bad parts of your history of the Detroit News. You can go and celebrate 150. I'm glad you did. And again, Lynn, this is not on you because you did a wonderful job. The column that you wrote, chronicling everybody that was basically the columnist in the sports department. But what they did to Jerry Green is still a stain. And I know a lot of us are never going to forget it and the way he was treated because of quote unquote age discrimination. So that's my pundit view for tonight.
All right. No one likes a black ball story, a black stain, just like you said. Somebody who, and in the era where authenticity is appreciated, it's celebrated, it's lauded by who we would deem the real, the authentic. Don't feed into this. I know Jacob's gone off about it. I don't know how many times. We're not a scripted entity. No, we talk about how we think and feel about certain things, and to do that to one of yours, and he's like one of the veterans. Like, you don't blackball your veterans. I don't care who you are. What was it? It was on a Pundit. We talked about the layoffs at ESPN,
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of them were veterans. But you don't treat somebody like that. But nonetheless, congratulations to Detroit News celebrating 150 years. Motor City Mad Mouth, on you, buddy.
All right. Well, number one, I want to piggyback off of Jacobs for just a moment. What happened to that Jesse Ventura reminded me a lot of what happened to Rush Limbaugh over at ESPN. You knew the guy was controversial. You bought the goods. All of a sudden, when the kitchen got hot, you let him go. You couldn't handle the hire. Why make it in the first place? But this shows you that, to me, and I love watching Rush Limbaugh. He went out there and brought a different dimension to NFL Countdown is what it was. And more power to him. I mean, Rush, let me tell you, Rush has no problems getting jobs. That's for sure. So great observation, Jacob. Now, my topic of the night goes to the New York Yankees. Yesterday, I wrote a story about this in the South Florida Tribune that they're losing, the Yankees losing weight more or less started here in Miami. And I was at the third game, 35,000 plus showed up for it. But the reality of the situation is they lost 9 in a row, first time in 41 years. If they had lost 10, that record would have gone back to 1913, and chances are they're going to finish in last place. And guess what? They lost today to the Washington Nationals, who, by the way, are coming to South Florida this weekend, and I won't be at the game. I guess it goes back to the old saying, there's a difference between this organization, the way it's run now under Hal Steinbrenner and George Steinbrenner. George Steinbrenner would not have kept Aaron Boone along, and he would be very impatient. I really ought to know because I lived it. And yeah, K.R. Lombardi, who will be probably a guest at some point on some of our shows. Yankees suck it. It's killing me. I hear you, KR. And get ready for another invite on 108 Stitches Baseball Talk before we bring you on a football show. So I breathe you, KR. I really, really do. But you know what? The Yankees are deep trouble, and I have a feeling that Brian Cashman and Aaron Boone are going to be heavily evaluated before it's all said and done. If not, they may be gone. We'll see how this thing plays out. But the New York Yankees, with that massive payroll, to finish this bad, just doesn't feel very normal. So take it for whatever it's worth. All right, back to you, Denzel.
Not even a season where Aaron Judge was injured that much. You talk about an organization where the 2010s was the only decade in their team's history that they did not have a World Series appearance. If that wasn't already bad enough, now you're looking at a team that's they're now 61 and 66 or something like that. You know, they had not been this down this late in a season in a very, very long time. And we actually asked the question last night on Confidential, was it time to blow it up in the Bronx? And
excuse me, one second. I just want to add one quick point that skipped my mind a little bit. Number one, it took a game like Aaron Judge to hit 3 home runs and 6 RBIs to snap that futile losing streak. So, I just wanted to add that to it and realize this is territory the Yankees aren't familiar with. And they haven't been familiar with prior to when George Steinbrenner brought the franchise, because at that time, CBS owned the franchise. All right, continue on. But you got me thinking a little, and that's why I decided to throw that in there. Go ahead.
No, I'm glad you brought up Aaron Judge because, earlier he was out with a foot injury, and if they keep going at this pace, he's going to be out with a back injury from attempting to carry this team. So the question, does Boone and Cashman have to go? I'm nowhere near a Yankees fan, and I think I probably speak for everybody in the Bronx when I say yes. Shout out to our guy, JB Ellis, because I'm sure he echoes the exact same sentiment. Now,
Denzel, I'm going to assign you a responsibility, okay? You get to read the chats coming up as well. I'm going to give you a little extra things to do because the comments are coming in, if you don't mind.
No problem at all. So for Mr. K.R. Lombardi, it says he's going to the game Saturday because his dad bought his daughter, bought him tickets for Father's Day. That's awesome, man. That actually reminds me of a guy that I used to serve with up in Abilene, Texas, and he took his daughter to Arlington to Rangers games whenever the Yankees were in town. So her first taste of the Yankees was actually out there. Let's see, Jeremy Ballright. Shout out Smoking Jeremy B. Good evening. Does anyone still watch the Yankees? Not even Yankees fans watch the Yankees.
The Yankees.
Oh, Yankees. Yeah, not even the Yankees watch the. They don't watch the Yankees.
Yankees.
Yeah, these are called Jeremy-isms, is what they're called. All right.
Yeah.
So, you guys will get used to
it. It's the R-rated dad joke.
Exactly.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right.
Pretty much.
Well, you get to see them on Sundays, so I tell it to his face.
Yeah, that counts. And let's see, Cashman is horrible and needs to go. Problem is, Hal doesn't care. Sell the team. Who's going to buy it?
Yankees without Steinbrenner. But let me say this. Let me say this part, and I said it on Confidential last night, and you heard me, Denzel. The biggest thing I say with it is the fact that this is not the White Sox, who have less playoff wins in 125 years than the Astros have in 5, as far as playoff wins. That tells you where they are. It's different. Cardinals, same way. Cardinals are usually in between 86 wins in the NLCS all the time. This is rare. So, I mean, it's hard to just blow things up when it's had a bad thing. Yankees, I mean, as long as you get rid of Cashman and get someone proper replacing. But, I mean, when you have 6 World Series and like 14 ALCSs, 15, some ridiculous number, and it's like, you don't want to just go to anyone a warm thing just to make fans happy. You want to make sure that go get Theo Epstein.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Just properly replace is all I say. If you don't, you keep Cashman because there's not going to be better, and you're going to make yourself worse out of emotion.
And you hit rock bottom, not only just by the record, but literally no one fears the Yankees. The Yankees were always a top 3-5 feared team every other season, if not every season. No one fears them. They look like a JV squad. This is how you know it's time to blow it up, okay? Are we playing the Yankees? Yeah, whatever. You know what I mean? 20 years ago, that was never a thing.
Yeah.
And now look at, let me see, at least the Steinbrenner's still spending luxury tax every year. The problem is they go for established guys getting out of their prime. That's a tactic that used to work, but not anymore because the game evolves and everyone's caught up to the Yankees. That's my answer to it. Everyone else may feel the same or different, but, just like any sport, it evolves, So guys just coming out of their prime, I mean, that's not it anymore. Ever since Moneyball came out, that's what teams have been doing.
Yeah, exactly. The Yankees haven't been feared since George died. I don't know if that's true.
When did George die?
Steinbrenner?
I'm still alive.
No, when did George
he's right there.
No, when did George Steinbrenner die?
I thought about 10 years ago or so. I think
it's been a while.
So he was around for the final World Series.
Yeah, right. He was.
Okay.
Yeah. And the thing about general managers is that, yeah, unless you got somebody really good in mind, and the Tigers, there was rumors about Theo Epstein coming to the Tigers. Well, that never happened. They went after Scott Harris out of San Francisco. But getting back to Cashman, yeah, you got to have somebody really talented and ready to go, because that's a humongous job and so much pressure being general manager. So it's easy to say, yeah, get rid of Cashman. I say get rid of Boone for sure, but the general manager should be the one allowed to hire the new manager. And that's something that did not happen with Detroit. But obviously it's a situation where, if ideal, you'd like to get the general manager first, is all I'm saying. But they better have some candidates ready to go to be interviewed.
Yeah, absolutely. She's approximately 10 years ago. All right, I got to get on to my pundit's point. We got to get started here.
Yeah.
But my pundit point, I'll keep it fast here, is the Kung Lee versus UFC. This is now officially a class action lawsuit. So, and I looked this up via ESPN article. It was first filed in 2014. Took some time, but now it is finally a class action suit. So about 1,200 fighters can sue as a collective for unfair business practices. This is a quote from attorney Eric Kramer. He said, "We look forward to demonstrating our allegations that UFC abused market power to suppress fighters' pay before a jury in Vegas." This reminds me of a quote from Dana White. And Jacob, you probably remember this. Scott, you probably do. George as well. As when talking about the fighters' pay, and Dana White said, they're getting paid what they're getting paid. You eat what you kill, right? And it's like, okay, because this is along the lines of, because we're talking about athletes that are putting their bodies on the line for the name of the sport, just like football. We've talked about these guys not getting fair pay and compensation for CTE. You know what I mean? This is in the same league as this. And it's not looking too good for the UFC, because you're talking about like football is one thing, but then there's fighters that are taking elbows, knees, like slams and things like that. And I know, yeah, they're talking about fighters that fight maybe 2, 3, maybe 4 times a year. But to think someone can't get seriously injured in the octagon is asinine, So, I mean, they have to get paid fairly. They're in a violent sport, okay? Yeah. So they must be taken care of. It shouldn't even be an issue. But it is an issue because of one thing, greed. Always remember, Dana White is a shrewd operator, just like his best friend, Vince McMahon.
And Donald Trump.
All right, I have a responsibility here to get as many of these comments up as I can, so I hope you guys can bear with us. K.R. Lombardi, exactly, and how isn't the competitor George? So that is a good comment. So, as we continue to work on the format here, the one thing you guys will realize that with the following we have to give our chats and put as many up as we can and maintain the flow, which I think right now is really good anyway. So we're just looking at, hey.
Well, one of the things to say, and appreciate that, Scott. One of the things to say is, I see this was going to be one of the topics, but I got it changed because we found something. But I appreciate you bringing it up, Denzel. One of the things is UFC, the amount of money compared to the amount of money they pay their fighters compared to their revenues, 20%. Wow. Boxing is normally 50%. Strikeforce is 64%. It's fighter revenue. It's like, I'm trying to think, Pride, it was like 46%, K1's like 51%. So I'm just saying all of these are much more. So to use the excuse, we got to that, then it's 20%. See, the issue I have with the class action, it's 1,200 fighters. The vast majority of them had one fight, maybe 2. Because if you go 0-2 in UFC, you're gone.
That's it.
You rarely see a 0-3 unless someone had an alternate fight in the early days. You don't get to the thing. So the vast majority are going to have that one, which is going to be tough to admit that any kind of fault, because they fought many more places. With something like this, they fought many more places. So they're going to talk about injuries. They're going to talk all those things to get the money. But see, back in the day, the people that they had, it was all or nothing. It was $50,000, $150,000. They would be one of those same things, and you make $1,000 back in those early times. So it was different in that time. But if it's 1,200 fighters, it's going to be a lot of those early fighters, and the ones that were in those tournaments, which might have a thing. Except I figured the numbers. I figured the numbers on this. They're going for $813 million. The thing is, they're going for $813 million. Divide that by 1,200. That's 617,000
Per
a
fighter.
fighter. So they will finally get main event pay if they would win. But you know it's not going to happen. You know it's going to be a settlement, which would be about $40 million, which is about $25,000
Per
per
fighter.
fighter.
Yep.
So that's about $25,000 per fighter, which is what they would make anyway. So everybody getting themselves into this, it only helps the UFC because they can settle
I can
that.
see that. I
Yeah.
can see that.
Very
Absolutely.
true.
Well, I want to get on to
Did you have something to say, George? Or
No, I agree with you. I
I'm
mean,
just agreeing with you.
yeah, you can't shun the stars of the show are the guys in that ring, and they need to be treated fairly. Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
There's no promotion without them. Well, I just want to go on to our first topic of the night. Those were our pundit points. Our first topic of the night, and that is the unfortunate suicide of two of the members of the Arizona Cardinals staff. Nick Chad, 23 years old.
the
Took
kids.
his own, never kids. 23 years of age. Took his own life, unfortunately. And then Ryder Lauer, son of Arizona Cardinals longtime photographer Gene Lauer. He was 16 years of age. Jacob, this is your quick switch one. Start off with you. Your thoughts on this and why you brought this to the fold.
Do you see? I heard this from the Arizona Cardinal thing. It was the announcers that brought this up, and I knew I had to switch something. We have this. We have put the suicide hotline number more than once on this show. We have put this, but we have been doing it for adults. This is our first time with kids, and we're starting to see this more with kids, and especially since COVID. What the government did in the midst of all this, okay, we're trying to protect you from the virus. Well, there's a whatever we could say about the virus. I'm not going to bring that part. We can debate it all day. But what it did do, and there's no debate to this, is that you had a bunch of kids who are already afraid of, they're already half afraid of people in this world now because they're on phones more than anything. They're not outside as much as we all were. They're not meeting people like we all were. They're all digital. And then you did that. You took away whatever outside they already had and you kept them inside for 2 years. Then you played fear porn like the media tends to do. Played fear porn with it. So then you got them afraid. I have been at my job that I have been at, and I have seen 12-year-old kids. Like, this is a couple of years ago. This is the second time he was out, and he was like this until I finally warmed him up, and it took forever. And I'm very good at warming him up, but it took forever. It's just because of how fearful the whole thing was. And, with or without masks, without anything. We did this as people. All four of us were outside as kids.
Right.
All four of us had friends. All four of us just messed around. We made forts. This is going to be part of number 4's topic tonight. We were going to tell it later. But we made things. We kept it out. We didn't get on digital. Digital's fake. Much as anything else, Twitter, they might be real or they might be bots. We don't know. Say thank you and move on. I never learned that sometimes. But see, I can put up with it because I was outside with people all my life as a kid. And now when you're taking this all away, you are bringing more depression in. And then you're doubling it down that most of these kids are on drugs now. They're on a Xanax. This is what I was talking about. Well, you hear all these kids that are collapsing. They're collapsing and they're having the blood clots and all that. Guess what? We also have these drugs. It could easily be a vicious cocktail. You have all these drugs and you have the injection. And then you have this, and then you have fear, and then it just burns everything. And it's like, we got to just get back to the basics. We got to quit having the cops look out and listen to some Karen saying, they're outside. No. We got to quit this. We got to quit bugging the people's business because then you're keeping the kids in. and then the kids are getting depressed, and then this is happening. And I feel for those families, and I cannot imagine. I don't have a kid yet, but I cannot imagine burying the 16-year-old. That's not natural. We are supposed to be the ones buried by our kids. We are not supposed to ever bury our kids, ever. And and it is sad, and it's like, and it is everything. And then we have a vicious cycle of everything. It's like, can we at some point, and we'll go to the fourth topic when we do tonight, but at some point, can we start getting something old school with these kids, like outdoors?
Absolutely. Coming up on a Saturday, all we needed was a football, and we'll play anywhere. Oh, we're going from light post to light post, Oh, that fire hydrant's the first down marker. That was all we needed. Kids got to get back outside, And you're right. I think COVID did do a lot of damage because there was a suicide rate that was going up even with that. We were saying, like, look, just go walk outside, get vitamin D, get sunlight, just go walk out, wear your mask. But go walk outside. You're going stir crazy because you cooped up in the house because the news is telling you stay in the house, stay in the house. They're not telling you
fear
the
porn,
good organic stuff that you're supposed to do.
I call it fear porn. It's fear porn.
It is. It's fear. It's fear mongering. Absolutely. But I want to swing it over to Scott and get your thoughts about this.
Well, I mean, when you look at things, it's tough to be a kid these days because, number one, you have so many things like the internet giving you information as how to do things. When we were a kid, I knew a couple of people that had drug overdoses. Thankfully, they survived. So I'm not going to get into any specifics. Suicide is one of those things where you can't tell me there's a person around here that hasn't contemplated doing it when things are going to go bad. I'm not going to lie to you guys and tell you I never considered it at one point, because when things are bad, they're bad. But guess what? I'm sitting here with you guys, right? So so we were able to work it. But yeah, conventional wisdom, it would tell you that the kids should be survivors, and bearing a kid at a young age. Well, what are you going to do? There's so many outside influences. COVID-19, yeah, did they keep them inside? Sure they did. But you know what? So what? But here's the thing. COVID-19 didn't keep people off the internet looking for things to do when they ultimately got outside. And, it's a much different animal. It's part of new media. And that's the thing that I talk about every day. And I will be talking about every day with my students when I begin teaching classes at Eagle Communications School of the Artificial Intelligence program that we're going to be launching there. So, what can you say? You hate the Arizona Cardinals have 2 employees. That's just a shame. But it isn't just them. It's a shame for anybody. But obviously, the reason it's made headlines with us because it happens to be the Cardinals, and it's a sports type of situation that can happen everywhere. So regardless of what clubhouse you're in, the word suicide is just completely unfortunate. And I got to tell you, when I was back home, I visited my step-grandfather's grave, and he did commit suicide, is what he did. It was tough to go by there. I don't know how much longer he was going to live anyways, but he died of depression, mainly because of the fact that my grandmother never wanted to travel, and he wasn't content to staying around, the area, just taking care of my great-grandmother. So that's how I really try to look at things and put them in their entire perspective. So take it from there.
All right. Yeah, absolutely. Getting out and getting about, that's exhilarating. Like even getting to the gym, stats will tell you that getting to the gym will actually improve your mindset, and it works in a positive mind frame. And unfortunately, when COVID hit, what did? They shut the gyms down,
Right.
But that's a whole other conversation. We'll swing it over to George and get your thoughts about this whole thing.
Well, it's incredibly sad, obviously, what happened in Arizona with the Cardinals and those 2 people that took their lives. When you're in that situation, we tell people, call, get somebody to help you, talk to somebody, do something. Just don't think that the world is closing up on you. There are people out there, there are professionals out there that can help, and there also are non-professionals, family members, anybody that you could turn to for help. One of the things that I noticed in the last several years, especially with being a churchgoer, is how few people are going to church anymore. And I'm telling you that the church at one time was the center of the neighborhood. It was the center of that side of town that you were hanging out in. whether it was going for classes at night, whether it was teaching you woodworking or crocheting if you're a lady or whatever. They used to have evening courses when I grew up. All that's gone. People are so far away from church, and it's not just one religion I'm talking about in general. And so we've lost that identity with trying to get help. Youth groups at churches, their attendance is way down. And again, it's all this, I want to be free. I have too many other things going on. I've got sports going on. I've got this going on. I know you do, but there comes a time when you should be able to have some fun and have some joy and have some camaraderie, like you guys said, with people other than on the phone, on the texting. Put that down and go outside, join a youth group or join an organization, do volunteer work. There's plenty of opportunities to become involved in different things to help your community. And like I says, I think those are a couple of things that were on my mind, that people have drifted away from organized religion, and they've also drifted away from the youth having groups together. And I'm sure the Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, Cub Scouts, I'm sure their numbers are probably down too, from where they used to be when you guys and I were growing up. So I think we do have to get back to that one-on-one or one-in-group time for our grandchildren and children to be able to enjoy that and hopefully not have bad thoughts like that being suicide.
Yeah, and K.R. Lombardia says obviously what we all think: suicide is bad. Sad.
Yeah. It's
Well, you're right, K.R.
Well, the church, what the church had, and I went to an Episcopalian and Anglican church when I was a kid, and I went to a Christian school called the University. There is everything to it. And let me say this about the church. After our church, you had a couple of kids that you hung with. There was a little thing down the stairs, a little basement, had a little fun. First, you went to go get the donuts because they had donuts and coffee donuts for the kids and milk or juice or something, and then the coffee for the adults talking about boring stuff. You know what I'm saying? And then, you get all that, and then the kids go downstairs, run around, we mess around, wrestle around, whatever you did. But you want to know what that is? There isn't a suicide rate when you have that. There just isn't. Not much. I mean, you can't say it's 100%. But when you just have people around and people that you feel good, if it's the fun way you do trash talking, you have that. Like friends do, Denzel, that kind of deal. You get to that thing. If it's wrestling around, you have that. That's just the idea. It is human interaction. We miss these things. And I'm not saying we don't know what happened with them by itself, but it's just happening overall with the kids. It's just like, they're just such a, and here's the thing, this kid, the 16-year-old was he was in lacrosse. It was in all this kind of stuff. But here's the question. Was he getting bullied? Was it because bullying is causing bullying is causing kids, boys and girls to kill themselves? And it's like, and one thing, and I'll tell you why that's causing it, is because schools are saying, no, you can't fight back anymore. You're going to get in trouble too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you have a bullying you used to be able to say, okay, I'm going to get them back. Okay, you might have got beat up, but they respect you. Period. That you might respect you. Period. End of story. Instead, they're saying, oh, you're going to get in trouble too. And then you get to this thing. Now, what do these kids think? What do they think? Oh, I'm going to get in trouble? They don't have the same mindsets that a lot of adults do. I don't care if I get in trouble, I'm going to do it anyway. They don't have that same mindset. They're scared to death.
Yeah.
So then where do they go? What's their next thought? It's like when we play this fear-mongering on the TV, then you do the fear-mongering to the people saying, I'll get you in trouble if you do this. Then you're fear-monger at home because the parents will get on you. Where else do these kids have? Where else can they go? And that's the whole thing. We have got to get we've got to teach them some common sense. You get self-defense, go to martial arts classes, just get them anything. But we are losing common sense.
Yeah, agreed. And I'll say this much, and then we'll move on to the next topic, and that is, and I'm not saying with any other men on this panel, but this right here is for the youth, whoever's watching, is that our generations, the men on the screen that you see here, we as males were unfairly taught not to reach out, to stay silent. Because if you did, you were weak. It was weakness.
You're a girl. You're a girl.
Yeah. And then something like a suicide happens, and all of a sudden the narrative changes. But you all have known that one of my annoyances that irks me is, why does it have to be a reactive society? Why can't you be proactive? I say that to say this. Coming from somebody who's lost 3 friends to suicide in 12 months back in 2021, if something is on your mind, please reach out, okay? Someone in this world loves you. I don't care if it's one person or 100. Someone on this earth loves you. If you believe, pray. If you don't, that's on you. But reach out to someone, okay? I cannot stress that enough. With that being said, I do want to go on to our next topic, and that is the legacy of Bob Shamrock. Bob Shamrock, the patriarch of the Shamrock family. He's the, if his last name sounds familiar to everybody, he's the adopted father of Ken and Frank Shamrock, 2 men who went on to become UFC legends. He established the Shamrock Boys Home in Susanville, California. He had a legacy of turning troubled youth into champions. And him having this boys home and raising his kids and everything, and the subsequent success of Ken and Frank Shamrock led to Ken opening Lions Den Gym, which is widely regarded the first MMA camp. So I want to start this off with Jacob and your thoughts on Bob Shamrock and the legacy that he created.
800 boys
800
went through that
amazing
place.
Wow.
800. 2 of them being champions. There was some football. There was everything. He brought them through. It was a boys' camp. It was.
Let me ask you something before you continue.
Yeah.
Would you call this the MMA version of Stu Hart's Dungeon?
Absolutely. Absolutely. At-risk kids, all of them. He took Ken in at 1977 at 13 years old, who was living in cars. He was living in the car and everything. He found out the kid could fight, so he put him through. Then Frank later. Then Frank later on, and they're half brothers, all that kind of thing like that. It was just, but Bob did all that. And this is what we were talking about with the people. See, this is another thing that I have the annoyance. You will have the media shaming people for being boys. They shame them for boys will be boys. No, you don't. Masculinity is toxic. They bring that out. Meanwhile, you have him bringing nothing but. You know what he did when the kids were getting. This is what he did for those kids on that ranch. It was a ranch, so they were working all day, sweat like crazy. The whole point of it was get tired, fall asleep, get some all that kind of thing like that. A few months in, he would give them Shamrock jackets. There was the emblem. He put a logo. It's like, you are proud. You are one of us. He got them the thing, and it's like, and now Ken started the Lions Den. He did that as he got older, and he has everything like that. And that is the thing. We bring this whole thing of toxic masculinity that saved 800 boys' lives. Masculinity saved their lives. That's another thing of why we talked about suicide earlier. You got boys that are afraid to be masculine because they get shamed. They don't know what they are. Then there's nothing to ding, and then you don't have a Bob Shamrock's been gone a few years. He was only 68, so he could have kept doing this. It's like, and it is missed. We have boys that, considering how they brought Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts together and merged it up and all that kind of ridiculousness, all they've done with this, boys and men need other boys and men. It's just different personalities. They just do. And it's like, and when you have a Bob Shamrock out there and you had them and he saved lives, saved these kids, kept them out of trouble, put them to work, sweat, do everything like that, became their dad. How many kids are out there now that don't have that guy? He's gone now. I mean, Ken does the best he can. He's got with the thing, but he's getting older too. How many do we have that do not have that? And they're in trouble,
Yeah, it's gone.
And they go to jail. And you know how the jails are inundated. How many kids did he save from jail?
Out of 800?
Yeah. Yeah. How many did he save from jail? That's the whole point.
Yeah.
It's like that he kept them out of jail, and then they had productive lives. That's the thing. It's like, we could have this. And it's like, we could have this right now. And it's like, and then no one was telling Bob Shamrock he was that he was toxic when he's getting kids working on a ranch. And then, oh, by the way, if they wanted to fight, he brought them in the boxing ring. And then they'd wear themselves out. They'd wear themselves out because they can't fight. And they're like, okay, that's enough. It's what you did. Then guess what? They went to the dinner table and they got along.
Yeah. Pretty much, with the whole trainer father figure thing, and Bob Shamrock, he did a lot, obviously, but ladies and gentlemen, it's not a new concept, because another trainer who took a troubled youth and turned him onto something masculine and he became champion, Cus D'Amato. If you don't know who he is, he trained to some guy that looks like Balrog from Street Fighter. Want to swing it on to
Mike Tyson.
Scott Morgan, the Motor City Madmouth, and get your thoughts on the legacy of Bob Shamrock.
Yeah, you know what this reminds me of? This has John Thompson written all over it with Allen Iverson. It really, really does when you think about it. More power to Bob Shamrock. Think about how many guys that John Thompson had to get straight and took him under his wing. Unfortunately, Patrick Ewing didn't have enough success at Georgetown, but Patrick Ewing went on to have an outstanding career. And the list of Georgetown players that went on in the NBA were fine. But think about it. John Thompson and Allen Iverson. Iverson was in deep trouble before he got under Thompson, and you saw he went on to have a pretty solid career, good career. So I don't know. That's what this example reminded me of, anyways.
Yeah, this is reminding me of because it's not always going to be your father. Right. It's going to take a Bob Shamrock or a Cus D'Amato. Hell, I remember being in boot camp. This was like day 3 of boot camp, and our instructor, shout out to Carlos Coronado, who was my boot camp instructor. He did the yelling and the pushing, and then we had us what it was called pushing Texas. We were doing push-ups like half the day, But he said something real on like that second day, and he said, and mind you, this was a flight of like, about probably 55, 60 of us, maybe 70. And he said, some of you grew up without fathers. And during these next 6.5 weeks, I will be the closest thing to a father you ever had. That's deep. And then just think, near graduation, we got done with FTX. It's now known as Beast Week, and we got awarded our Airman's Coin. So those of y'all who don't know, whenever a trainee is awarded an Airman's Coin, that is their official transition from trainee to airman in the United States Air Force. And there were ones in tears. You know why they were in tears? Because they got told, well, outside of finishing high school, you'll never amount to nothing in life. That's an accomplishment. But this is what people like this do. They do something positive for them. Anyone can say, yeah, he's doing their job, but whereas to them it might be another day at the office, to somebody else it's something huge. So with that being said, I want to swing it over to George and get your thoughts on Bob Shamrock and guys like him.
Yeah, what a great story. Bob and his wife Dee Dee, they could not bear any children of their own. And when I was doing my research, and that really struck out at me because how wonderful is that? They're contributing to their own enjoyment of helping boys out that need help. It's a remarkable story. It reminds me of a fellow that we had in Detroit. His name was Sammy Washington, and the church was called St. Cecilia, and he created a program for basketball called Ceciliaville. In fact, the Detroit Pistons last year, for several select games, they wore a special uniform to salute Ceciliaville. Sammy's gone now, Hall of Fame guy, very similar to what Bob and Dee Dee Shamrock did, taking kids in, learning them the game of basketball, but also teaching them things that they needed to know for life and growing up. And Emmanuel Stewart, our friend Scott, the boxing trainer, he's another one. He was another one that really took all those kids in at the Kronk boxing gym. Right. Oh yeah, of course, Tommy Hearns is the big one we all know about, but there are a lot of lesser ones too. Right. And he didn't turn anybody away. He tried to have as much as he could with helping those boys become fighters. And I'm sure there are many, many other stories in every city across the country. Mitch Albom here in Detroit is doing a lot of work with his program called Say Yes to Detroit. In fact, Matthew Stafford and his wife Kelly gave a lot of money for a new football field in a tough part of Detroit to refurbish a stadium. I'm sorry, not a stadium, but a football field. And hats off to that, because that's always a great thing when you see pro athletes giving something back. In this case, Matthew and Kelly Stafford did that. But yeah, I mean, hats off, Bob and Dee Dee and all the people in your family for all that you did for all those years. And like I said, there's stories in every cities, and I'm sure that, you know, that young man that you touched, that life that you touched, is always going to be something special for that young person, because that's something you did to reach out and to touch and to help them become a better person. So it's a great story. Thank you very much, Jacob, for bringing it up today.
No problem. And I wanted to say this. I wanted to say this real fast. And this is not to you two, or I'll say anything like this. I'm just saying it to people in general, especially media, especially television shows, especially everything. Interviews, all this stuff. We have too many people saying the words, and again, don't take it from your end. I'm just saying, I know you're just talking. They will say, I'm just here to be a better person. There will be a lot of men, so many men do this. They are so afraid to say, I want to be a better man. Boy, to being a man. You used to say this forever. You take him to the military. We'll make a man out of you.
You did me.
That's still there. That's still there. And I want to bring this. Denzel, look at number 4. Bring it up to 3, because this is going to be part of the idea of what we're today. We'll do the Tuohys last. Yes.
Okay.
I wanted to seg into this. This is what this dad is doing. I woke up one morning and I'll look at what's going on, emails or whatever, and I check this on Twitter or X. And you get to this.
Twix.
This kid named Jack. I think he's like 9, 10, whatever. You want to know what he was doing in that video? He was like, my dad, and it's a very Midwestern, you know what I mean? Hey, Tori.
Shout out Tori Harmon.
Yep. And here's the thing. It's like, you want to know what this kid was? He's 9, 10 years old. He's got this, I don't know if it's a Southern or Midwestern or whatever. My dad said, if I can fix any of these cars in the salvage yard, they're mine. You know, whatever. He's a little 9, 10-year-old kid. This is a 9, 10-year-old kid lifts the hood. He's taking the thing, puts a couple of things in there, starts it. It is now his. The little bitty car. He's 9, 10 years old. He's going to learn how to drive. Do also like 9, 10 years old, 11, whatever he is. I don't know what he is. But then you look at other videos. He's growing pumpkins. He's making his own food. He's getting all that kind of stuff like that. Grow Jack outside. 27,000 subscribers. And I'm promoting it tonight because it needs more. It needs 1 million.
Okay.
It needs 1 million. I was doing it online. I was trying to do it from our Let Talk and Sideline Sports. It needs a lot more. I love the 27,000, but it needs a lot more. We were talking about what Bob Shamrock did. We were talking about with the whole situation with kids. Here is what is to your best of your ability is going to prevent suicides and depression to the best of our ability. Getting outside, turning a boy into a man, doing things, teaching them how to grow food, teach them how to fix cars, change tires, everything. That kid's not inside. That kid's not with a tablet. That kid's learning things. And truthfully, he's better than me because I didn't do a whole lot of the things myself, even though we were outside with things. But I guess they're on a farm. I guess the dad has a salvage yard or something. But that's a kid, like a 9, 10, 11-year-old kid who's basically getting in there with the parts and starts it himself, and that's his car now. Mm-hmm. And it's like a kid doing that himself. It's like, how many kids are doing this? And it's like, you want to know what we can do for boys, turning them to men and to the best of our ability prevent depression? These things. Yep. These things. And it's like, I mean, I don't know if you guys saw those videos, but it's amazing what that dad is doing for that child, for that boy.
Yeah, absolutely. And a little bit more background about it. That 27 Go Jack Outdoors, 27K subscribers, 164 videos. It's saying outdoor growing up, and if you've ever seen it, these aren't just regular size like watermelons or pumpkins. They are ginormous. Okay, they're about the size of cars. But see, I want everyone to notice a trend here, because take somebody off the streets, you train him, you put him in the ring, he becomes successful, and then he opens up his own camp. That kid that fixed the car at 9 years old, you know what boys like that grow into? They get their own mechanic shop when they get older.
Yep.
And then when they get their families, they pass it on to their boys.
Or they work on a pit crew for NASCAR or IndyCar.
Exactly. If it involves a car, they will turn it into, and it's crazy. These are the things that they need to do. This is the old school things, the back to basics that Jacob was talking about, that you need to do. Get them outside, get them going. Get them in the ring, have them doing something physical. With the granted, yes, UFC and boxing is a violent sport, but rather they be in the ring committing legal violence than committing illegal violence that gets them in prison. So where do you want your kids? In the ring or in prison? But with the Grow Jack Outdoors thing, it goes to that old school, living off the land kind of deal. Like that guy's gonna grow his own vegetables. He's gonna grow his own fruits. He's gonna have like a ginormous farm. Like that's just how things end up with people like that. So yeah, definitely shout out to those guys for those videos. But I want to swing it over to Scott and get your thoughts about the Grow Jack Outdoors movement that has started on YouTube.
Okay, well, if you want to give me another 150 subscribers, I'll be over 1,000 for sure. I mean, I'm getting close to that number, so let's see if we can find 150 people out there. And when I get them, 200 would be nice. We'll take 100, 150. Yeah. I mean, if all these people getting, how many subscribers were there?
27,000.
Wow, that's a lot. Hey, you know what, man? Hey, Grow the Jack, do me a favor. If you're hearing this show here, why don't you find me 200? You obviously know how to get that. You're in 5 digits, and I'm looking to get to 4 digits. Okay.
Hey, look, you want to digit, grow an apple tree. You got it.
Yeah, well, I don't know. My association won't let me do it here. Otherwise, I'll be in trouble. So, but here's the thing, okay? This is a cool topic. I really, really do. But you got George Eichhorn and I, okay, on this show. You got to remember, YouTube, but we know it's FCC, okay? Federal Communications Commission. So for all you YouTubers out there, if you didn't comply with FCC, you're in deep trouble because, it's amazing how this new media stuff, I love talking about this stuff, it's just crazy. I mean, you want to get me cranked up here this late at night? Don't worry. I got a broadcast later on when we start eventually, but the whole idea is more power to this guy. I like your line though, Dens. You want to keep them in prison or put them in the ring, whether they're boxing or UFC, which by the way, I may not probably draw a lot of rave reviews, but I certainly think UFC is like human cockfighting, if you want to know the truth. And when you go down to New Orleans, all you got to do is see a bunch of 2 birds fighting in these places out there. And then you go out there and, it's amazing to see 2 birds in a cage going at each other. You never see this out in the bayous, but I did. I've been all over the place to cover sporting events and every so and then. Now and then you get to some of these places. So, I think I'm way out of line with what I'm saying. Okay. But, considering I've been on the road a lot, this is called information. And our goal here is what? Entertain and inform, right? Isn't that what we're supposed to do? So we can't lose sight of that, okay? So whether we grow Jack outside, whether we talk about Pundit, whether we talk about the other 12 shows on the broadcast that serve a purpose, more power to them. You want to make sure the young kids / young adults are headed in the right direction and not headed in the wrong direction. It's okay to go out there and eat those 60-second meals out of the grocery store rather than having bread and water, and all of a sudden wondering if somebody's going to give you a headache that Tylenol can't get rid of. So, but no, I like this topic. I think it definitely does have correlation with the other one we spoke about. And again, the one thing I want to mention on Pundit, folks, is we're a magazine show. Let's not lose sight of that. We are a magazine show. If you're looking for, one of those statistical shows, sorry, this isn't for you. If you want a stimulus thinking response show, like our new Mr. Opinion, okay, talks about, and yes, our new Mr. Opinion, Christner, okay, this is what it's all about, man. This is laying it all on the line. Your First Amendment, just don't overdo it to a point where I get restricted in some place or I'll have other headaches to deal with. So we don't cross the line here.
They'll leave you alone. They'll just go after me.
Huh?
They'll leave you alone. They'll just go after me.
No, they'll go after me too. Don't worry. I don't want to get into a detailed conversation on camera, but we'll talk about that in private. But all these topics are done with good faith, with the intention, entertain, and inform. And my goal here is not only are we trying to get the audio and the visual thing, if we go ahead, affect one or two quality people watching these shows, we've done what we were expected to do here. And that's what I believe. And that's why I think Pundit's Pundit and eventually Pundit's Views is going to be an incredible addition to what we're doing here on the network. So, all right, with that said, who's next?
All right,
George, your turn. Bud.
I don't know how I can top that, guys. No, I think you guys have really nailed it, because this is a great story again of a young kid that's going to become a man. Like you said, he's growing things outside. He's discussing them. He's putting them online. He's showing kids what it could be for them, the opportunity to do likewise. I just love these kind of stories. We get them once in a while from the news media, but not too often. I am glad to see that even the network newscasts, a lot of times they'll end the newscast with a more of an upbeat story and something positive for the community. And a lot of times they involve children. So even some of those networks that I don't care too much, they're finally seeing the light and trying to show more of these kind of stories and these things. But yeah, this kid Jack is incredible. I mean, that's a great story. I love it. I love it. And there are some people still in urban settings that have gardens. We've got a few of them here in Warren, Michigan. We've got some in Detroit. They're bringing urban gardens back. But it's not just the adults. I think the key is, like we talked about earlier, get the youth involved, get the boys and the girls involved, and make them have responsible chores and tasks, and that'll make them better and more productive in society when obviously they're getting a little bit older. Not quite as old as me.
But big thing I wanted to say fast, and that's the truth here. This is that when we was growing up, there was, it was a Little House on the Prairie and those types.
Oh yeah.
And it is a family, and they have to work together, and it's all that. So, and with a man raising a couple of girls and has his wife. And you want to know how many are still out there? Plenty. You have kids that worked on farms back in the day. You had shows on that. You want to know how many there is now out there still? Plenty. You know what the difference is? They don't promote it anymore. They don't promote the thing anymore. It's the people keep saying, "Oh, we don't see these kind of kids anymore." Oh, there's plenty of them. Oh, there's plenty of women that want a man's man. Plenty. They're just not promoted. It's just you get like Rachel Zegler, who's trying to do something with Snow White, say, "Oh, she doesn't need a prince and everything like that. She's gonna be her own." That kind of destroying Snow White with every word she says. But see, that's what gets promoted. Plenty. You're just killing your movie because there's plenty of women out there that want a man's man that do protect, and you're just and they're not going to change their mind because of you. We promote the wrong things. It isn't that they don't exist. This is what I want to give this world. We don't promote right. If you want to promote one thing, you got to do it, because you still had the 60s and the 70s New York and rough and gruff, and you had everything from Robert De Niro, and all that kind of stuff. You had those then, but then you also showed family. You had mixtures. Now you try to show one, and it's like, guess what? Everything exists. Family, men, everything exists still. Just have to know that you have to promote. It has to be promoted more. And it's like, and that's, what do? It's like, unless we start our own.
Yeah.
All right. I should point out we have a crack weather update by Jeremy Ballrick. Okay. Nasty storm brewing here in Flint, Michigan. So, Jeremy, if you can't make it on the show, we got 3 people. Don't worry about it.
That's just Michael Moore farting.
Yeah. And just go out there and cover up, Jeremy. Heaven forbid something happens to you. We'll protect you for Sunday. So, but here you go. There's your Flint, Michigan update. And you know what? A lot of people, he'll be there. Look at that. Oh, I love these crack weather updates, especially when they involve airtime. Look at that. Entertain everybody. All right, then. So back to you.
All right. And on to our final topic real quick as we wrap up here. And there's Michaeloher and the Tuohys now. Anybody out there who saw the last episode of Gauntlet on the Sideline Sports Network last Friday, we actually had the topic of Michaeloher, who filed a petition to end a 20-year conservatorship with the Tuohys family. And now it's coming up. How much of this is really real? How much is this really authentic? Jacob, was this yours?
Yeah.
All right.
They had a report today. They had a report in 3 different places. The accountants and the producers came out. Everybody got $760,000, including Michaeloher. He was lying this whole time. And this is I had an idea this was happening because all of a sudden he's getting mad and he's doing something stupid. And see, this is the thing. You want to know how many kids now just blew it? They just got blown up. Their hopes blown up for a family. Because you want to know how many Tuohys out there now are not going to trust this.
True.
They're not going to trust this because something like this could happen. And it's like, and you have a falling out, and then you get to this. There's a conservatorship because of a kid from a different era or a different walk of life. I mean, this isn't Mr. Drummond with different strokes here. It's a little different.
Oh, that's going back.
This is from a different war. This is, I mean, we can bring that thing. This is not two kids from the streets going into a rich area and blah, blah, blah. This is a kid in a different situation in life. You're a conservatorship because the family understands money. The family, you're trying to protect them. You're trying to protect them.
I want you to go ahead and read this chat. Okay, go ahead.
The Tuohys took care of me. He's ungrateful. Yeah, I know. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's like, and it's like, and there's that thing, and it's like there is one big deal with situations with this is like you can have kids out there that are looking for families. There's going to be a lot of them now that they're not going to do this, especially little black kids. They're not going to have a family now, and this can be on purpose. And it's like he did this out. There's no question this is impulsive, no question, because he did not think this through. The Tuohys are very, very wealthy. They're going to understand money. They're going to know how to get to and improve and everything, where this guy did not, even if he was in the NFL. And he's 37 years old. Yeah, absolutely right. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. It's like lying now is just okay, for one thing, you're never going to have a relationship with him again. That's the unfortunate part. But now you just hurt. Michaeloher, you just hurt so many kids that could use families. And this is everything I've been trying to say. I'm going to say quit it with the color. If it's a white family taking a black kid in, good. Black family taking a white kid in, good. I mean, Chinese kid, Thailand, from across the world, we're humans. Boys, girls, everybody. We need help getting them foster, getting them adopted. And you doing this, Michaeloher, does not help. Does not help a bit. You lying about this out of your impulsiveness and your ego. Now you just hurt a bunch of kids because they're not going to trust.
Yep, it's definitely going to be unforgiving. Swing it over to Scott. Your thoughts about this topic?
Yeah, you know what? I want to piggyback off of what Jeremy said out there because I think he makes a couple valid points. He is making teenage adoption and conservatorship seem bad for orphans and foster kids. He's really right. I mean, when you put things in perspective, I mean, this is all about hurting kids and making it harder for them to develop. And, it's sad, but it's true what this guy is doing. And again, sometimes we have to uncover stories that we don't necessarily like, but it's we obviously have to do it because that's the world we live in. So I don't like any of the dynamics of this whole thing, but what can we learn from it? You don't need snakes like this out there, and you have to follow this guy's example to make sure that, can we learn from really anything? We can talk about different topics of how they affect, school situations and all that, but yet social media will continue to bring them up, and more of these cases are going to go out there and become more apparent so we can talk about them as we go along. So, yeah, but I'm with Jeremy on this whole thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so unfortunate because, we just had the great story on Bob Shamrock earlier and how he took in kids. And then, here comes this whole thing. And now the next story was going to be pretty much, and it's anybody's guess at this time because the reports are fresh, is what was this man's angle? I agree with Jeremy Barr, right? It was ungrateful. It was selfish. He really wasn't thinking about anybody else who could be in his situation for the future and how much they could hurt him and hurt their chances.
I think he has a book coming out too. I think that was the reason.
There you go. And you know what? That actually is not out of the realm of thought because whenever, either someone has a music album coming out or some sort of project, they might want to stir up a little trouble stir up the pot a little bit, get him to, buy more books. Is he going to mention it in the book or something? Yeah, to kick up book sales, But it's the wrong way. I don't agree with it one bit. But we've all seen it happen before in entertainment,
Right.
So I want to wrap this up by getting with George Icon and getting your thoughts about this.
Well, it's a situation too where, again, the media is jumping on this story and acting like everything that Michael said is true without verifying the facts. And here you go. Jacob said that the story hit today that everybody was paid, and they were paid a pretty good amount of money. Obviously, not enough for everybody, but And when I first heard the story, I thought of that great actress Sandra Bullock, and what a wonderful job she did, right, guys, in that movie. Oh my gosh, it was just a tremendous movie. I still enjoy watching it. And that whole thing was just kind of like exploding and blowing up. Poor Sandra just lost her husband recently to an untimely death, and now this whole thing came in, and it's just again, it's another typical media situation, jumping on a story and not clarifying, not waiting to get some facts out there first. So it took over a week or 2 weeks. I don't know what it's been since it first came out, probably a couple of weeks. But no, I there are good people out there, and this family was a good family that did this. And you're right, there is a lot more, obviously, that we don't know about. And there are plenty of people out there that want to adopt, want to help children, no matter what situation they're in. I have a young lady at my church, a lady that's a Caucasian, and she brings an African-American boy that she adopted. And she told us that both the parents of them were druggies. So here she is taking now this little boy, and it's a challenge. I'll tell you guys, he makes a ruckus at church. I'm telling you, he throws books on the ground, song books. And I mean, it's like, oh my gosh, but I got to bite my tongue and just say, no, let it go, George, let it go. Because this young boy that she has brought into her life and her family and what she's done, that's a joy. That's a blessing. And how she's raising him now. So it's a situation that I can see firsthand right when I go to church on Sunday. So all this being said, yes, there are some great people out there that do this. And whether you're trying to make a buck or say the story is wrong, that was wrong of him. He should have never did that. I'm sorry.
And I'll tell you, can we say something to Denzel before I get, because we're not going to do one of those ending things tonight. So I want to say one thing to end this. A lot of this is happening because let's say in 2023, we are still getting the kids like you get to the Michaeloher. Oh, you're with a white family. You white.
Yeah,
you white. You white. Let me ask this question to everybody that does this. Is white to you classy, rich, successful? So are you insulting yourself? Are you insulting yourself every time you do this? Every time. You're telling someone like Denzel, he can't be rich. Every time you do this, you're telling us every day, you white. Let me say this. You want to know, to this day, 2023, every time you look at the comment section for like Cosby Show on Twitter, or on the YouTube, they'll be saying, that wasn't like a regular black family. No. Here's the thing. Kamal Bell said it himself. This wasn't like a black family that was thinking about money. This wasn't Good Times. This wasn't James Evans. This was a black family that didn't have to worry about money. They're rich. How many black families would love that? How many black families would love that opportunity that never really have to worry a day in their life about money? And you got 5 kids you can raise, and you can get Theo to NYU. And you can get this, and you get them all and then Hillman, obviously, from that show. You can get them there. How many would love that? But yet you still get 2023. You're still getting this mindset of, oh, dude, that's white. Don't. How about this? How about we're human? We're men. We're women. We're boys. We're girls. Let's quit this. Okay, melanin's different. Let's quit this. Let's quit this divide. Let's quit this fight, because it's this fear mongering, the fear porn, and the divide. It's just going to turn us to a civil war we don't want.
I should point out that once again, following Pundit's Pundit, Fire Up features myself, George Eichhorn, Jeremy B, and Tori Harmon. So stay with us in the South Florida Tribune YouTube channel. Great job by you guys. Denzel, anything else you want to add to this?
Actually, that's pretty much all I got, and I'm going to pass it on to the valedictorian of the South Florida Tribune himself, Scott Morgan, to give the valediction.
Valedictorian is probably far from what I did. My life in school was called winning ugly.
And what was it? You had a C range? You were in the C's?
Yeah, C, but I also paid my way through college too, though.
Oh, hey,
so did I.
No student debt, man. That's okay. I'll take the C over the A that took them 9 million years to pay. I don't care. Winning ugly, baby. Out there, as Dick Vitale would say, awesome, baby. Winning ugly, paying your way through. Back in the
awesome,
day.
baby.
That's it. He's not far away from us.
28 cancer treatments for our friend Dick Vitale. He's a trooper. He still can't talk, but God bless you, Dick.
Yeah, there you go. All right, George, we'll stay with it. So let me point out a couple things before Denzel and Jacob let everybody know they get a hold of themselves. Just so you know, the Pundit is now being broadcast around the world. The audio version of Pundit can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcast. Please hit the red subscribe button on YouTube, South Florida Tribune. We're striving for 1,000 subscribers, and Jacob's got the task of talking about grow up to this guy, grow Jack Cheese to get me a couple hundred more. We'll put him on that as his homework assignment for the next
year.
All right. So, once again, please hit the red subscribe button on YouTube, South Florida Tribune. We're striving for 1,000 subscribers. Please also comment, like, and share the broadcast. Want to be a guest? No problem. Okay. Participate in the chat room or send your topic ideas. South Florida Tribune at gmail.com. You want to advertise coffee patiently? Call me 954-304-4941. We broadcast live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Website www.southfloridatribune.com. Twitter at Tribune South. Candy's behind the scenes, and also she is producing tonight. So behind the scenes, making sure this broadcast runs smoothly. A couple final comments from Jeremy B. as he gets ramped up for the show. Okay. I will mention he made it ugly through high school. I could hardly tell, Jeremy. Okay. Which is why I enlisted in the Army. Well, all right. We have a couple of military people on there. I would never make it in the military because I'm a freelancer anyways. And I have more Sergeant Carter's kicking me in the butt, and I'd bash him on military radio. So I can only imagine what that dynamic would look like anyways. So
golly, Sergeant Carter.
Scott, great. As usual, my friend. Well, K.R. Lombardi, by the way, you've earned a potential invitation here to be on Pundit's Views, and we'll be announcing an opportunity for you to come on. So, telling you, Jeremy, once you got to understand, my man, there's a lot of people in this system. K.R. Lombardi, he's a guy go back way back to the 80s. So, got to go out there, and there you go, Jacob. Okay, K.R. Lombardi is running to a Pundit's Views, man, and this bad boy is getting started. All right,
sounds good.
Using my Brent Musburger tone. All right, it's not too bad. I forget the
You're live from
Los
right,
that too. Forget about the auctioneer business or whatever else you wanted me to do earlier. I kind of like what we're doing here. All right, Jacob, let everybody know how they can get a hold of you.
Well, I just recently I was in a movie, got a couple lines, came completely out of the blue one night. So it's a movie called The Betrayal, and I'll show my clip whenever it comes out. So it's like that's going to come down. I think it's going to go streaming, so it's pretty cool. So Sundays in the mornings, it's with the professor and the pupil. Let's see, the Mondays is our show, the Sniper and the Pundit. The Sniper and the Pundit off the top rope. Tuesdays off. Wednesdays is Sports Exchange and the Confidential. Thursday nights is this. And when they need me off the bench, I am on Gauntlet.
Very good. All right, Denzel, go for it.
All right. Real quick. Sniper and the Pundit, Top Rope Talk Mondays. Wednesdays, Confidential. We will be moving to a new time slot beginning next Wednesday. It will be at 8 Eastern instead of 10 Eastern. So if you tune in at 8 Eastern, we're going to go ahead and knock it out and enjoy our evening. And then, of course, Thursdays here on the Pundit with these fine fellas on the screen. Then also the Gauntlet on Fridays on the Sideline Sports Network. And that's it.
George, the author.
I'm not the only author. Scott, you're an author too. It's coming up real soon. Scott's book. I'm looking forward to it. But I beat them to the punch. I got Scott Morganroth in my book, Detroit Sports Broadcasters on the Air. And there's a link to purchase the book at the end of my column. I write for the Motor City Tribune under the South Florida Tribune banner, of course. And you can also see me 108 Stitches, Inside the Pigskin, the Sports Exchange, and this wonderful program. And of course, Fire Up shows. I enjoy being on the platform and being on with you great gentlemen and ladies that have been on the show with me before. So you can reach me at gicorn@yahoo.com. That's the easiest way. Or you can reach me on X, formerly known as Twitter, and that is at SandGSports99.
Well, it's safe to say Jacob and Denzel knew what they were getting when they brought George and I on here. But they were getting here that they didn't have previously is longer broadcasts with more chat involvement, which is why I kind of look the other way with the clock, because I enjoy the participation that we have on this show. This show isn't about us talking to each other. It's us talking to the people in the chat room and everywhere that this broadcast can be picked up. And I know Jacob and Denzel are acclimating very nicely to this new format, as much as we enjoy producing it and doing it as well. There'll be other contributors along the way, depending on what happens with my time situation as I go on a book tour, as well as other things. But I probably plan on being 95% of them. But you never know. Hey, if I have to go out there and go on a book situation or promote, you know darn well that this show is going to be in good hands no matter who's on it. So we want to thank everybody else for joining us on this edition of Pundit's Pundit. Coming up afterwards, okay, Fire Up with myself, George Eichhorn, Tori Harmon, and Jeremy Ballreck. So any closing thoughts before we call it a night?
One real quickly, I am also on, I forgot to say, I'm also on TikTok, Jake the Pundit 1, and I am near 900 followers. It took 2 weeks. So I started 2 weeks ago at 42. Now I'm almost 900.
Nice.
There
So-
you go, Jeremy
so
Ballreck. All
building.
it takes is a little bit of work out there, and your social media will be up to speed in no time. And everybody out here is living proof of that. And I know Jeremy has other ways to promote, but he's learning right now through the South Florida Tribune tutorial program that, you know, social media is the way to go. And I think he's starting to gradually get the message. That's why he's still on the platform. So once again, on behalf of George Eichhorn, Denzel Snipes, and Jacob Christopher, my name is Scott Morganroth of Motor City Madmouth. Thank you for joining us. And coming up next, Fire Up, following with Jeremy Ballreck, George Eichhorn, Tori Harmon, and myself. Good night, everybody.